Hello, alumni of Mississippi Valley State University. Indeed, it is a beautiful day to be where? Back at your home on campus here at Mississippi Valley State University. I'm so pleased to welcome you all. I'm so pleased that you all are engaging with us to assure that our university does what? Remain healthy, remain viable. So again, I know I really appreciate each and every last one of you, as I know we all do here at the university, and particularly our current students. We need you. We need you to continue to be engaged. We know you love Mississippi Valley State University. We know you do. And we love it too. We all do. Because it's all of us together that's going to make sure that the university remains viable, sustainable, and healthy. So I really want to appreciate and thank and really embrace all of you all. Because again, together, we're going to make sure that Mississippi Valley State University not only stays in motion, but that we stay sustainable and we really understand and have our community understand the importance of who we are since 1950. And now going into fiscal year 2023, our institution is still as relevant today as it was then. So again, all of us together will work together and appreciate and love and embrace our students, our campus, our alumni, and everyone to assure that when we hear the name Mississippi Valley State University, we really understand greatness. As we begin with updates, we'll start with our Valley Scholars, our current students. As I said, we have some outstanding students here at Mississippi Valley State University, really doing some outstanding things. Let me give you a couple of examples and really target a few of our students that are really working and really bringing attention to themselves and us. Because again, that's part of what we know we do here. Provide students with opportunities to be successful, not just in the classroom, but beyond. So a few of our students who are really doing some great things. First, we have Alapalumi Shadubi, who was selected by the Study Mississippi as the 2021 International Student of the Year. But she's also our current representative, the HBCU White House Initiative, part of the 2022 Scholars Cohort. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our 5th consecutive year having a student represented by this White House Initiative. So we know that Alapalumi will be representing our university to the fullest. Also, we have Zipporah Watley and Chanel Houston, who were selected to participate in the inaugural class of the FedEx HBCU Ambassadors Program. And that program was kicked off this past year when Zipporah and I had an opportunity to attend the stellar kickoff event that happened with a day's trip to the New York Stock Exchange. I know she enjoyed it and I did as well. Now on the athletic front, if you haven't seen or heard already, it was just recently announced that 5 of our Delta Devils football players were selected by the HBCU Sports on the HBCU Sports All-SWAC preseason team, including Caleb Johnson, Ronnie Thomas, Corey Rankin, Jalen Bell, and Orlando Fernandez. And Caleb was actually also selected as an FCS Sophomore All-American by Hero Sports. But even further speaking on athletics, did you all know that this academic year that we had 127 of our scholar athletes who earned a 3.0 GPA or higher? Again, folks, our athletes are not only doing great things on those playing surfaces, but also in the classroom. Now, the next thing we'll be talking about is our fundraising and friend-raising. Folks, this was a banner year for fundraising, a banner year. We will all understand and heard about the blessings we received from the anonymous donor who gave us 2 donations. The first one being that $250,000 and the second one being that $2.5 million that we received this past year. And all of that came about from a conversation that I initially had with a representative from that donor, where the representative said that the donor really had begun to look at our institution, really begun to understand and appreciate what we were doing, and they wanted to give us that first gift. Now, following that, about 6 months later, we got another call because we reported to the donor what we had done with that initial $250,000. And that second conversation with the representative further illustrated that we're doing some really good things. Because that conversation started by him saying, our donor is really, really impressed with your university, impressed with how you all are using the monies that we were given, and really showing that our institution is moving forward. And about a week after that conversation, guess what, folks? We got that check in the mail for $2.5 million. $2.5 million that we understand have to be used, every single penny has to be used for student scholarships. But that will allow our students to continue to matriculate at the university, to continue to overcome some of the financial challenges that they may be still having because of COVID. So that's just important that we understand that that donation came about by our institution being visible, by our institution being positive, and really showing the great things happening here at the university. But also on those lines, since becoming president in 2017, we've been able to increase our private endowment by almost over 50%. And we know that a lot of that is coming from you all and from corporations and other relationships that we are really forging to continue to build on our capacity. So I have to just continue to reiterate, this was a banner year in fundraising. And I want to thank everyone that had a part in this. I want to thank you all again for the commitment that you all have made in that race to $1 million or that $1 million pledge. That's going to be important as we continue to talk about building our institution. Because again, with COVID, and also now that we understand that the AIRS funding has ended, it's going to be important that we really strategize and prioritize our fundraising and friend-raising initiatives. And going forward, that's definitely going to continue. Now that goes into our university's financial metrics, our solvency. Are we in a good place financially? Indeed, we are. We are in no financial trouble. And let me give you examples of how we can assure that we'll stay there. We know as a system, as part of the IHL system, we're evaluated every year on our financial solvency. And for the 5th consecutive year, we've received all excellent grades in all categories. Let me first talk about our cash reserves, or our cash on hand. We know that as a system, each institution is required to have a minimum of 90 days of cash on hand or in reserves. As of last year, as of the close of this fiscal year, ladies and gentlemen, we have 190 days. 190 days of cash on hand. So that's roughly 100 days more than the system requires. Also, our long-term liabilities have been significantly reduced to only 47 cents for every dollar in unrestricted net assets. whereas the IHL system expects that to be no more than $1.50. And all this means we're not carrying a lot of debt. We're not. And also our debt service coverage is excellent, with a coverage ratio of 7.61, which is significantly above the IHL system's expectation of 1.5 times. So again, this shows that our debt service and our coverage is in excellent shape. And our fiscal prudence has allowed us to be in a better position as we begin this academic year, understanding that the AIRS funding has ended. About 4 years ago, I made you all a promise. And that promise was that I would assure that our institution maintained and assured our financial solvency. But we realized that we didn't expect the COVID-19 pandemic. We knew that the AIRS funding was wrapping up. But even still, coupled with the AIRS funding wrap up and COVID-19, folks, we've still been able to maintain excellent portfolio when we talk about our financial solvency. One of our priorities this year is academic affairs. We are going to be going through our SAC-COC reaffirmation for our accreditation. So we have to make this a priority because we know that this is a university's lifeline, and that's indeed what we're going to be doing. We will have our reaffirmation of accreditation during this academic year, including our on-campus site visit by the SAC-COC team. As I said, this is a university-wide priority, and we all know the importance of this process. Now, in March of 2018, we submitted our fifth year interim report that talked about where we were in this process. And that report was approved with no recommendations or follow-ups. And our report was so stellar that the SAC-COC team selected NVSU's report as a model report for all other institutions seeking reaffirmation and accreditation. We also have some individual departments who will be going through their departmental accreditation this coming year as well. Our Business Administration Department, Computer Science, Fine Arts, and Social Work will be going through their processes with their accrediting body simultaneously. So we understand again the importance of the reaffirmation of our accreditation, and that indeed is going to be a university goal and priority for this academic year. But also during my tenure as president, we've added a Bachelor of Arts in University Studies, a Bachelor of Arts in Integrated Social Science, and a Master of Arts in Sports Administration. And we're continuing to look for other but possible degree offerings going forward. One of our partnerships that recently we met with the representation from Ole Miss, including the Chancellor, to talk about strategies to partner with their supply chain management program to offer NVSU students a certificate upon completion of these 12 to 15 credit hours. So that's going to be happening this academic year as well. But also starting this fall, we've added 2 off-campus sites. We've heard and we've seen the announcement about the university being selected to partner with some of our correctional institutions. Well, we were selected to participate in the Second Chance Pell Grant program, which provides Pell Grants for incarcerated individuals. And NVSU will offer courses that provide a pathway for a 4-year degree at both Bolivar County Regional Correctional Facility and the Delta Correctional Facility in Greenwood, LaFleur County, Mississippi. Now I want to speak about some of our relationships, our partnerships. cultivating those strategic partnerships with corporations, businesses, and communities. We are still the first and only university in the country to have a FedEx Logistics operation right here on their campus. And that partnership continues to grow as they are employing more and more of our students every year to work in that facility. Right now we have approximately 40 students who are employed with FedEx Logistics. And we know that they receive a competitive wage, but they also receive benefits as a FedEx employee, as well as tuition support as they continue here at the university. And we had that ribbon cutting, that groundbreaking ceremony that was hosted in September of 2019. So the relationship with FedEx Logistics was just the start of our relationship with the FedEx Corporation, because in 2021, FedEx Logistics also announced a $1 million donation. And this donation will be used to further develop our valuable education and career readiness opportunities for students and to further support the university's collaboration with all the FedEx companies going forward. It was announced that we are an ambassador, an inaugural member for the FedEx HBCU Student Ambassadors Program. As I mentioned earlier, two of our students, Sepoya Watley and Chanel Houston, are our first ambassadors representing Mississippi Valley State University. So these relationships with FedEx continues to grow, continues to be built on, and we're doing everything again to assure that that relationship continues. But the other thing I think that I have to also reiterate is we now have that Chick-fil-A on campus. Chick-fil-A at MVSU. And we successfully negotiated the contract with Chick-fil-A and Townsend Hospitality to bring the franchise to our campus, which opened August of 2021. It's important that we understand that all this conversation was happening, and then what happened? The COVID-19 pandemic hit. And at that time, Chick-fil-A was a little hesitant of opening any new franchises until we had a better understanding of the impact of the pandemic. However, through a lot of negotiating, continuing to talk, guess what? Mississippi Valley State University got out. We got ours, and our franchise was open. So again, really important milestone for us, and so I just wanted to reiterate that real quickly. In the fall of 2018, we became the first and only four-year IHL institution to participate in an early college program, as we collaborated with the Greenville Public School District to launch the program, the Early College Program, which allows high school students starting in their 9th grade to begin taking college-level classes along with their high school classes here on campus. We're now in our 4th year of that program. So we now have seniors on campus who are taking solely college classes. And right now, that entire program, we have almost over 100 students who are going to be participating this year, from those from the 9th grade to the 12th grade. But once they get in the 11th grade from high school, all their classes are now college credit-bearing courses. So that program is continuing to move forward and really continuing to prosper here at the university. We recently were selected to receive the Home Depot Retool Your School initiative. We received that in the past, but this is now our 3rd year of getting that funding. This year we're going to be getting $20,000 to move some projects forward. So when we talk about collaborations, cultivating relationships, these are just a few examples of really those initiatives that we're doing to build and grow and continue to know the partnerships are important for our sustainability. On the legislative side, as you see, we have some priorities that we really have been speaking about to our state legislators about the need for infrastructure, repairs, and all those things happening at the institution that we know we need some support with. As you see, these are our 5 priorities that we recently met with a group of legislators who came on campus. They received this information about the priorities of funding we're going to be asking for support with. But we are going to modify one of those. The first was to have a renovation of Radcliffe Hall. But we know that we really have to be competitive going forward in the student housing market. So we're going to be replacing that one with completely changing LaFleur Hall, actually taking that building down and building from the ground up, building suite style, apartment style housing, because we know right now that's the type of housing that our students are wanting and seeking. And we know that that's the type of housing that they're beginning to see on some of our sister institutions. But we are going to continue to push, and really what we need is for you all's voice with our legislators. Those relationships that you all have, both individually and collectively, to really speak about the importance of our infrastructure needs and really continuing to assure if we're going to be competitive, we have to make some modifications and changes to our campus. So this list is just highlighting right now the 5 priorities. We are happy to be able to announce that the renovation, the complete renovation for the Student Center is moving forward. We're in the design and document stage of that process right now, and we're hoping to have actually some things happening. We know some things are going to begin on the construction side of that this academic year. We're also now planning for the renovation of Lackey, because again, we know that our students need to have some recreational opportunities on campus, and so having a fully new student center as well as a recreation center, those are priorities. But also, as you see on the list, we are looking for more student housing as well as addressing some of our needs in our academic buildings. I know that the legislative committee that's part of the National Alumni Association has been working, we've been meeting, and we just need to continue to have those meetings to begin to strategize our approach during this coming session, just to assure that our name, our voice is continuing to be heard and recognized in those areas. So again, really moving to build our infrastructure and to improve our infrastructure is going to be a priority. Now let's get into enrollment. I know that this is a area and a topic that's heavy on everyone's mind. You know, where are we with our enrollment? Understanding the national challenges happening now across the country in enrollment. Let me give you a couple of updates. It is important that we continue to strategize and look for opportunities to impact our enrollment growth. Now notice I said enrollment growth. And what do I mean? I mean enrollment success. It's not only important that we continue to attract new students, but that we have a very robust persistence and retention plan to assure that our current students remain at the university. And that indeed is a priority. It is a priority for us and will continue to be. But also let me speak about the impact of the pandemic on universities across the country dealing with enrollment challenges. There was a recent article in the Chronicle of Higher Education, and it was entitled, "What the Pandemic Did to Enrollments at Regional Public Colleges." And it really talked about hardest hit institutions during the pandemic have been institutions like ours. Those smaller regional public campuses have really had some drastic enrollment declines over this past couple of years. But even still, we've been able to stabilize. As you see, our comparative enrollment numbers for the last 3 years. This past fall, we actually had a slight increase. Well, we know a lot of our sister institutions, even here in the state, didn't have that. And we're hopeful that we're going to have the same results this coming fall. But we're really putting strategies in place to assure that we reach out, that we can continue to recruit, that we're still doing all those things to not only attract new students, but work with our continuing students in making the decision about returning to the institution. We know that we were able to utilize some of our HERF funding to help to support students during the pandemic. We know that there were a lot of financial challenges that the pandemic created for all of us. So we're going to continue to be able to hopefully support our students in that regard. But when we talk about help, it's really opportunities, again, as you all are engaging in your communities, as you all are engaging in the high schools, in your towns, in your cities. Really, again, continue to strategize and work with our admissions staff in that regard. Because again, if you look at the comparative data, despite all the challenges of the pandemic, we still had an enrollment increase. And since fall of 2020, we've had more than 75 students who returned and received their bachelor's degree through the Complete to Compete initiative. So all these things speaks about really our enrollment growth. We understand and we see that our dual enrollment numbers have been increasing throughout the years, and we're also expecting and have seen and recognize that that number is going to increase this fall, along with our early college and our dual enrollment. All those things really speak about enrollment growth and enrollment health for the university. Because it's not important so much to be the largest institution. It's about giving our students a return on their investment, and that means they come to Valley to do what? They come to us to graduate. So even despite of all the challenges happening in enrollment at institutions across the country, we're having those challenges too. But we're going to, again, make those challenges opportunities, as we saw this past fall with that slight increase. I believe it's about 1.3, 1.5%. And we're hopeful to even build on that this coming fall. On the athletic front, we welcome our new athletic director, Hakeem McClellan, but we also announced recently the hiring of Miss Tracy Totten as an assistant basketball coach for our men's basketball program. And we're looking into it, but we think she's the first female to be an assistant coach on a men's team here in our conference. So we'll let you know if that is indeed the case. As you look at the chart now, it really highlights where we are as far as our scholarship allocation for athletics this past year and what we're expecting to be able to get to the FY23 academic year. As you see, we're trying to get to the point where we're fully funding our athletics program. If you look at the chart in the middle, it speaks to the number of scholarships which can be offered for the FCS programs. And we are working to get closer in that area. We're going to be adding scholarships to football, to women's basketball, and softball, again, to help us get to fully funding athletics. We were able to do this really with the funding. We got special funding from the SWAC and to assist us going forward. But we also are going to be utilizing some of the prosperity money in regards to help us get to fully funding athletics. But the important thing is, if you see the asterisk by football, women's basketball, and softball, really identifying those sports. And we know that to get to be able to play in those larger guarantee games, particularly for football, we have to have a certain number of scholarships in order to be able to do that. And we're thankful that we're going to be at that point this year, but we have to maintain that for 2 years in order to now qualify to be able to participate in some of those games. So Roughly, we're going to be needing $1.8 million in order to get to the point where we're going to be fully funding athletics. And I want to thank the V Club and also the committee as part of the National Alumni Association for their support and help in building and really recognizing the significance of what athletics is meaning for our institution. But I did want you all to see and really understand numbers-wise where we are, where we were this past fiscal year, where we're going to be this fiscal year, going from 91.2 scholarships roughly to 120 scholarships. But we still have about that 50+ scholarship gap that we're going to be needing to fill going forward. Now let's get into what are our goals this year? What are our objectives? What's going to be the priority for us as an institution and how you can help? As I mentioned earlier, throughout these past couple of years, there have been challenges that we've had to work through. And indeed we have, because as I mentioned, we're going to turn those challenges into opportunities. But I have identified one or two particular things that we're really going to be focusing on this academic year. I talked about first that the reaffirmation of our accreditation is priority number one. We know the importance of what this process is. We're going to welcome the team when they're here on campus. We provided everything up to this point that's been asked for, but that's going to be a very important priority for us as we go forward. So we're going to be putting a lot of attention into assuring that reaffirmation process. The other goal that's really going to be continuing as we go forward is our enrollment health, strategic enrollment management opportunities. As I've been saying, that's going to be our conversation this year for the most part. We're going to be talking about enrollment strategies and plans and really building on all those things to assure that our enrollment continues to build and we continue to grow. The second goal is to really look at our athletic support and fundraising enhancements. As you all have just seen, we highlighted the gap that we currently have, even with the initiative we've been able to move forward, and we're thankful this coming year. We still have a gap that we're going to be needing to fill if we're going to get to the point where athletics is fully funded. So that's going to also be a goal institutional-wide. And so again, we're going to really be needing you all's support to continue to strategize and how we get to that level where we're fully funded, as I said, to be able to play in some of those larger guarantee games and bring more revenue to athletics to really do some things going forward. And the third goal is to really begin to address our infrastructure and deferred maintenance needs. You all have seen the priorities that we're going to be presenting, that we've been speaking with through with the legislators, but we're also going to be sharing that with other entities, with some of our community support, to understand in order for us to be competitive going forward, we are going to have to strategically address our infrastructure challenges. And as I said, we are planning to do some things this year. We're going to be repairing some roofs that we know are way behind in repairs, and doing some other things to bring on some more buildings to begin to move forward. But as we talk about really how we focus on this year, the goals and objectives, those are really going to be the goals going forward for this academic year. As we close this part of the session, I wanted to just take a moment again, as I started out, by thanking you all. And I know our current students, they really understand and knew that they need you as well. We need your time, we need your talent, and we need your treasures. We've talked about that before. But we need your engagement. and understanding that when we as a campus communicate and really talk through those challenges that are opportunities, we're really growing in our understanding of what makes us so special. So when we talk about how we stand out against other institutions, we talk about the fact that we are a loving community. We're a small community, but we're an engaging community. We care about each other. We support each other. We work through our differences. We work through those challenges. And again, all those things become opportunities for our continued growth. So in your various communities, it's important that as we speak about the institution, that we speak about those positive things happening, that we speak about the students that I mentioned earlier, and more students. So everyone knows that this institution is the place to be. As our future continues to move forward and we begin to talk about recruiting students for the next several years, it's important that we share these positive stories, that we share the fact that we are sustainable, that we are doing everything and giving them everything that they will need to be successful in this college experience. Now, there are going to be a couple of our cabinet members or support staff here to be able to answer any questions you may have. I know that Dr. Thomas Calhoun, our Vice President for Enrollment Management and Student Affairs, should be here. And also our Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dr. Abigail Newsom, should be here as well. And they will be able to answer any particular questions you have. But we just want to make sure that we continue to be engaged and really work towards that one goal, one team, one valley in motion. And all of us working together, guess what? We're going to be in motion. So thanks again.